Hello, Bobby Torres of Frightbox Recording here to share with you the real way that you can clean up a muddy guitar tone. Now you could do a whole lot to your guitar tone. You could EQ it, you could change the tone itself, you could reamp it, you can compress it, you can multi-band limit it, you could do an infinite number of things. But here's the truth, that's not where you should actually start your process when it comes to cleaning up your guitar tone. And in this video, I'm gonna share with you exactly where you need to be looking when you're having this issue where your guitars might not be sitting right, or they just sound muddy, or just something is rubbing you the wrong way within your production. Now I have a very simple audio sample here. It's actually of a production that the guitars were done first, the bass is done, we still have to track drums and vocals. So the production was done out of order, but luckily because the pre-production was all done and taken care of, I could track the production in any order that I wish. All the tempos have been mapped out and all of the main parts have been taken care of. So with that being said, I wanna play for you a riff and I want you to pay close attention to the guitar tone. Let's check this out. Okay, so once more, I'm gonna play that again and pay close attention to the chunky riff. Now, I want this riff to be crystal clear with a lot of attack and a lot of clarity. So again, pay attention to the guitars. Okay, so in my opinion, it's okay, but it just sounds a little muddy to me. Something isn't sitting right. It doesn't have the punch that I want. Now the drums are definitely okay because they're programmed and right on the grid, so I know the drums aren't the problem. And also I know my bass is sitting nice and in the pocket with my drum tracks. But here's the question, are my guitars sitting in the pocket? So if you haven't guessed by now, that's what this video is about. It's about taking your guitar tracks and making sure that they're sitting properly in the pocket so you can achieve a nice, crisp performance at the source before you grab an EQ or any plugin at all. You wanna make sure that your tone and guitar performances are right in the first place. Now, I talk about this concept a lot, specifically within my viewer questions answered videos, and I've had quite a number of people ask me to clarify what I mean by in the pocket. So this right here is a prime example. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna solo these guitars and I want you to hear these rhythm guitars in this chunky riff on their own, and you tell me how they sound. Okay, as you can probably hear, not that spectacular. And here's the thing, this is the exact same rig, amp sim, and impulse response that I usually use in the majority of my productions. And they've proven to sound great in all of the productions that I've used them within. But the question is, why isn't this exact same rig with the exact same guitar player and the exact same guitar sounding that great right here? And it's really simple. If you look at the performance, again, this is my left guitar, this is my right guitar. My left guitar is nice and in the pocket. As you can see, all of the transients are lining up with the grid lines or they're slightly behind the grid lines. When you get into trouble is when you have another guitar performance pushing the beat. And if you look here, the transient on my right guitar is pushing the beat against my left guitar. In general, you really don't want your rhythm guitars to be conflicting in this way, and you really want both your guitar tracks to either be dead on with the grid or maybe slightly behind, especially if it's a chunky riff and if you're looking for clarity. If you don't mind your mixes sounding jumbled and unclear and muddy, then don't pay attention to this video. But if you're looking for professional level clarity within your productions, this is where you should always start, at least when it comes to your guitar tone, or bass tone, or even your drums for that matter. So the question is, what do you do with guitar tracks like this? Because I'm gonna be completely honest with you. When you work with bands or even record yourself, you're gonna be dealing with a whole lot of this. Unless you're someone that has extremely good rhythm and you're a really tight player, or you're recording a very tight player, again, you're gonna really have to pay close attention to this if you're going for a nice professional production. So what you're gonna have to do is go in there, splice up your tracks, and drag them to where they need to be. Now, if you look here, I'm just simply going through, and all of these spots that were slightly ahead on my right guitar, I'm pulling to where they should be on the grid. Okay, if we look here, this right here is a head. You can clearly see it. And just to show you how bad that sounds when one is ahead and one is behind, I'll solo it and play it for you. Do you hear that? Those chunks are not that great sounding. Again. But all I have to do is take this one performance, drag it back. Now let's take a listen. So much better, so much more crisp, and so much more clean. And I didn't even touch an EQ or any of my amp tone settings or anything. This is just manipulating the original performance. Okay, now that I pushed this back in time where it should be, this is a little too far behind. So I'm gonna move this up, and there we have it. So now a lot of times people will ask me, okay, well, what do you do with these gaps? It's really simple. Just close them up. I got another gap right here. I'm gonna close this up. Now I'm gonna apply crossfades. And by the way, you can do this within any DAW. If you're a Reaper user, you can apply automatic crossfades and simply nudge the audio around. It's even easier to do within Reaper. I'm in Pro Tools right now, but a lot of DAWs can do this without any issues whatsoever. So I'm gonna apply some short crossfades. Right now they're set to 10 milliseconds. This is a new rig I'm working on, so a lot of my settings are not saved yet. So 5 milliseconds across the board. And now if we look, we have miniature fades applied to all of our edits. So now I'm gonna take that audio and I'm going to consolidate it so I have a single audio file to work with, so there are no more edits. Okay, so now that everything is pushed back in time and both of my guitar tracks are in the pocket, let's take a listen to the exact same audio sample. In my opinion, that's so much better. And again, I didn't even tweak my amp sim or my impulse response. I didn't even touch an EQ. Now, if you're interested in achieving this exact same tone, you could download the exact same impulse response that I'm using in this production. There's a link below in this video's description. It's an IR of my favorite Mesa Boogie Cab out of my studio, which I mic'd with an SM57 on the proper place of a V30, the classic combo. Again, you could download it for absolutely free. There's a link below the video. So now, just so you could hear the exact difference, I'm gonna play back the original performance, and then I'm gonna stop the audio and play back the edited performance. And I just want you to hear how much of a difference of an impact the guitar tone has in the edited performance. In other words, the performance where I went in and took the time to do the things that most people are just way too lazy to do. But here's the secret. All pro producers and engineers do this. So if you want great results, you have to do this. Okay, so let's hear the original performance. Okay, and the produced, tweaked performance. Now, I don't know about you, but that original unedited performance was like nails on a chalkboard for me to listen to. It just didn't feel right. And what I would do back when I started out with production is I would go in there and think it was an EQ issue or a miking issue or an amp issue, and I would just tweak things that in reality didn't have to be tweaked. I just had to pay closer attention to the actual performance. Now, here's the other thing you gotta remember. This is an unmixed, raw production. Again, the only tracks that are gonna exist within the final production are these DI tracks, the bass track. I still have to record real drums, and I still have to record real vocals, and I have to mix the entire thing. So this is a production in its infancy. And even in this unmixed state, you could probably hear how much of a difference this one little tweak actually made to my guitar tone. Massive difference. So again, if you're having issues with your production sounding muddy and they're just not sitting right, pay close attention to those performances. The number one thing you want to avoid is when the guitars push and pull the beat and when they conflict with one another. That's a one-way ticket to Slop City and just an overall muddy production. So tell me, I'm curious to know, do you take the time to do these things to your productions? Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you found this video helpful, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And do not forget to click the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I upload one of my weekly videos on all things metal and rock production. You can both like and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Links are in the description below. And again, you could download the exact same impulse response heard in this video. There's a link below in this video's description. Download the IR, load it into your favorite amp sim plugin, and get right to dialing in killer metal guitar tone with absolute ease. And until next time, happy editing.